Mia Winters is a former operative for the Connections who worked covertly in the birth of Evelyn, acting as her caretaker, while covering up her career as a worker at a trading company to her husband, Ethan. After being presumed dead in 2014, she was recovered by the Baker family and resided under lock and key at their property until being rediscovered in mid-2017. After Evelyn's death, Mia and Ethan moved to Europe and started a family. Mia gave birth to their daughter, Rosemary Winters. However, Mia was captured and used in experimentation by Mother Miranda and her cult in an attempt to use Rose as a vessel to revive Miranda's late daughter, Eva. Early life. Mia was a resident of Texas in the 2000s when she began dating Ethan Winters. In 2010, she began working as a researcher and operative for the Connections, a crime syndicate specializing in production of bioweaponry. This was kept secret from Ethan, who she would marry on May 29, 2011. Whether they moved to California together at this point or if Ethan did on his own is presently uncertain. The capsize of SS Annabelle. A few years after her marriage to Ethan, Mia took on the job of a handler for the first successful E-type bioweapon known simply as Evelyn. Alongside her colleague Alan Droney, she was tasked with transporting Evelyn on the cargo ship Annabelle to a facility in Central America. During the voyage, Mia sent a heartwarming video message to her husband Ethan saying that she misses him and that she cannot wait to be finished with her babysitting job. When the ship's course fell in the path of a hurricane, Evelyn started to become unstable, attacking Alan and infecting the crew members, who would be turned to molded. Arming herself with a submachine gun, Mia tracked down and pursued her throughout the ship, realizing that Evelyn had bonded with her and thought of her as her mother. After briefly reunited with Alan, Mia witnessed his horrific death via Evelyn's mold before she herself was infected by it. Realizing her impending doom, Mia desperately tried to send Ethan a second video message, urging him to forget their relationship and wishing him a good life. She is soon after thrown from the ship into the waters as the tanker continues to be destroyed. When the tanker washes up in the bayou of Dovey, Louisiana, Jack Baker discovers Mia amongst the wreckage and brings her back to the Baker estate, housing her in his daughter Zoe's trailer. During this time, Mia wrote a frantic letter thanking the Baker family for their kindness, as well as warning them not to approach Evelyn, but cautioning them about the possible consequences. Jack, having not read the unfinished letter, allows Evelyn inside, where she immediately spreads her infection and incites madness within the family. The Baker incident. Mia, under the influence of Evelyn, sends a brief and cryptic email to her husband Ethan, only telling him to find her at the Baker farm in Dovey, Louisiana. When he arrives, he finds Mia unconscious and locked in a cell below the Baker guest house. Upon waking, she is shocked to see Ethan and doubts her involvement in his arrival. In a panic, Mia attempts to guide Ethan through the basement. However, the couple reach a dead end, much to Mia's distress. While Mia rests on a nearby couch, Ethan continues exploring, leaving Mia alone. An unknown assailant bashes through a hidden door in the wall and pulls Mia through. Ethan sets off to find Mia. Repetitive knocking on the door reveals a monstrous version of Mia climbing up the stairs. She grabs and throws Ethan back up the stairs with tremendous, inhuman strength. She continues to attack him while wielding a knife. After a brief struggle between the two, Ethan is able to briefly disarm Mia, and she returns to her normal self. No trace of the virus influence in her voice or personality anymore. She explains that Evelyn will not get out of my head, while she knocks her own head against the wall repeatedly, ultimately falling unconscious. Ethan has a moment to breathe before she regains consciousness and attacks him again, throwing him through a wall and grabbing a sharp piece of wood to continue the fight. Ethan was able to defend himself with an axe, and after a short duel, he struck the weapon into her neck, a grievous enough wound to knock her down and out. Blood seeps from her wounds, and she is presumed dead. While Ethan was distracted by a mysterious phone call, she managed to rise once again and flee further into the house, wandering around ominously and eventually jumping Ethan after he had returned power to the attic stairs. First appearing normal and apologetic to Ethan's previous attack, she quickly turned and pinned him to the wall by stabbing a screwdriver through his left hand. As Ethan desperately struggled to get the screwdriver out, Mia obtained a chainsaw with the intention to butcher Ethan, But at the last moment, Ethan freed himself and raised his left arm in defense as Mia sawed it off. As Mia continued to fight for control over her body, she wandered upstairs with Ethan in pursuit. The pair went head-to-head in a fight in the attic, but Ethan prevailed, and Mia fell to the floor, muttering, "I love you," to him. Once Jack apprehended Ethan, the couple were both taken into the main Baker estate. At some point between their capture and Ethan's escape, Mia recorded a videotape for him to watch. In it, she tried to explain that the monster is not her true self while she ran away from Marguerite, and in the old house while coming across several key items and a puzzle that Ethan would later need to solve. However, she is soon cornered in a small crawl space by Marguerite and recaptured. Once Ethan entered the old house and obtained the stone statuette he required to solve the house's shadow puzzle, Mia briefly reunited with him on the other side of a chain-link fence. As Ethan demanded answers from her, she was grabbed and dragged off by Lucas Baker. She would later be found hand-tied to the wall of the boathouse alongside Zoe Baker as Ethan made his way through Lucas's death trap. Ethan eventually reached them and freed them both, giving Zoe the necessary ingredients required to craft 2 serums that could cure both herself and Mia. However, a heavily mutated Jack separated Ethan from the girls, and eventually left Ethan no choice but to use one of the serums on Jack in order to defeat him, forcing Ethan to use the other serum on Mia. They both pleaded with Zoe to join them in their escape, but she angrily refuses and orders them to leave, believing herself doomed. The couple rode into the swamp on a boat, but as they came across the old wreckage of the tanker, the mold grew over and flipped the boat, causing both to be submerged underwater. Mia soon regains consciousness outside the wreckage and desperately hunts for Ethan, who is quickly captured by Evelyn and taken deeper into the wreckage. As Mia made her way through the ship, she regained her memories of Evelyn and her origin through a videotape, which relived the fall of the tanker, giving her more determination to free Ethan. Mia discovered where Ethan was being held through a security camera system on the bridge and made her way down to him, freeing him. Despite Ethan's confusion, Mia quickly handed him Evelyn's tissue samples in hopes that he might be able to craft the necrotoxin necessary to kill Evelyn and shut him off in a nearby corridor, urging him to leave as quickly as possible before Evelyn regained control of her and separated the couple using the mold. After Ethan left to take down Evelyn, Mia was rescued by BSA operators. Shortly after Ethan successfully killed Evelyn, they were reunited while being evacuated from the area via helicopter. After this, she would cooperate with the BSA and provide any information that they wanted to know in exchange for not letting Ethan learn of her past with the crime syndicate. She clarifies that she wants to move on from her past. Mia, along with Ethan, fell under witness protection. The couple would then start to reside in Europe. Mia then sends Zoe a letter detailing her current life and location, although she can't share where she is specifically in Europe. She expresses her desire for Zoe to visit them and meet their infant daughter. Life after the Baker's incident. 3 years and 2 months after the Baker incident, Mia and Ethan stay happily married. During this time, Mia would give birth to a baby girl whom they named Rosemary Winters. For 6 months, they were a happy family. Though during this time, Mia would keep a secret from her husband which she would feel guilty about, as she doesn't want to ruin her family or lose Ethan. Abduction and rescue. On February 2nd, 2021, they celebrated Rose's half-birthday, and on the 6th, when Ethan accidentally brings up the Dovey incident, they had a fight partially because of years her carrying on the secret. Shortly after this, Mia was kidnapped and subjected to multiple experiments by her former colleague Miranda, who wished to use Rose as a vessel for her deceased child Eva. Miranda locked Mia up in her lab and impersonated her, taking her place in an attempt to abduct Rose from Ethan. On February 10th, 2021, she was rescued by Chris, who was on his mission to rescue Rose and destroy Miranda and the Black God. Chris initially feared that Miranda was impersonating Mia, but Umber Eyes reassured him that Miranda was still at the ceremony site. Chris then headed to the ceremony site, leaving Mia in the lab for her safety. She then told him that he can't leave her here, and that he promised he would keep them safe, even going so far as to move into Eastern Europe as long as they were together. Mia angrily demanded that he tell her where her husband and daughter are, causing him to solemnly respond that Ethan is gone, having been killed by Miranda. but he stated he can still save her daughter, Rose. Mia denied that Ethan is gone, proceeding to tell him the secret that she had been keeping for years, that Ethan was in fact killed by Jack Baker after his fight with Mia up at the attic, and that the only thing that is keeping him alive is the mold. Afterwards, Chris returned to her with Rose cradled in his arms. She is found to be relieved to see her daughter alive and well. When Chris ordered them to pull up, she realized that Ethan is nowhere to be seen. He tells her to strap and sit down, but she demands that he tell her what happened to Ethan, only for the N2 explosion, caused by Ethan in an effort to destroy the Black God, to go off, sending shock waves destabilizing the trajectory of the helicopter. Mia horrifyingly realizes that her husband had sacrificed himself so that they could escape. Chris angrily and tearfully tells her that he tried to save him but failed, and subsequently apologizes for failing her. Mia then sobs and hugs her daughter for comfort after learning of her husband's heroic sacrifice. Years later, she raised Rose to be a strong adult woman, helping her study with love and care before the beginning of elementary school, and Chris would be her mentor in controlling her newfound abilities. But by the year 2037, Rose is soon put under the custody of Chris and the Hound Wolf Squad, with Rose only seldom seeing her mother. Development. Mia Winters went through considerable development over the course of the franchise. To give the art team greater freedom, Resident Evil 7, Biohazard was developed with the intention of writing a story after to tie the ideas together. What ultimately became Mia was a member of the Baker family, which itself went through various changes. While the family cast was cut down over time, the decision was made that one of the daughters instead be an unrelated woman held captive by the Bakers, and be the wife of Ethan, who was until then merely a private investigator searching for a missing person. During development for Resident Evil Village, it was considered at one point that Mia be confined to a wheelchair due to her experiences at the Baker Ranch. This idea was later dropped, and it was instead toned down to her taking regular medication.